Welcome to Movie Film. I'm Carl and I just watched a new movie on Netflix called BIGFOOT Family. Now, BIGFOOT Family comes out on Netflix this coming Friday, as of this review coming out today, which is Tuesday. Now, I've mentioned on previous videos on the channel, whether it was the 100 greatest ever movies countdown or some other random video on the channel, that I'm a sucker for a good animated movie. So when the opportunity came to take a look at the press preview for this one, I couldn't pass it up. An animated film that wasn't from Disney or DreamWorks or even Sony, who've had a couple of honorable mentions down the years. BIGFOOT Family is an entirely new venture. It's not quite a Netflix original, but it is a Netflix presented film. Now I'm going to do my best today to give you a spoiler-free review so that on Friday, when the film comes out on Netflix, you can check it out for yourself and see if I was right or wrong. One thing I only found out about this movie about 5 minutes before watching it, doing a little bit of research, is that this movie is actually a sequel to a film called Son of Bigfoot, a movie I never knew existed. Well, Son of Bigfoot came out in 2017, and if you haven't seen Son of Bigfoot, you don't really need to enjoy BIGFOOT Family, because at the beginning of BIGFOOT Family, Bigfoot himself was on a TV show, and he basically just explains everything that happened in the original movie, which would outline that the filmmakers just expected that people didn't see the first one. So the story in BIGFOOT Family is that Bigfoot, who is now having his 15 minutes of fame after coming out of the forest and getting discovered by people. I assume that happened in the first movie, didn't see it, as I said. But he's got his 15 minutes of fame and he wants to do good with his 15 minutes of fame. So he decides he's going to join this protest against an oil company, and he goes missing. So it's up to his son to go and save the day, along with his animal companions and his mom, in a camper van. As I say, you don't have to have seen the first film to catch what's going on in this film, because they explain everything at the beginning. Even at the very beginning, Son of Bigfoot explains that he's the son of Bigfoot and he has all the powers of Bigfoot. For example, while he's not hairy like Bigfoot, he has big feet, which gives him super speed. Now, I'm not Bigfoot, but I'm 6'4" in height, and I've got big feet. And I can tell you from experience, having big feet doesn't necessarily make you fast. In fact, it's more the opposite. What can I say? And on top of his super speed, he's also got Bigfoot's power of super hearing. I guess that's a thing. And he can heal himself with magic powers. So I didn't know Bigfoot could do that. You learn something new every day, they say. Now, of course, being an animated movie, this movie has to be held up against the gold standard of animated movies, Disney. And while that might be unfair on the face of it, Disney are the king of animated films, Pixar in particular. But of course, DreamWorks down the years have made some spectacular movies, and Sony Animations had a couple of honorable mentions, as I mentioned earlier, mostly bad, but some good. So when a new company comes in with animation, the animation better be good. And I gotta say, in this one, the animation overall itself was pretty good. I always think back to films like this, something like Open Season, which was a Sony movie. Open Season itself was fine. The animation was pretty good. They got some big name actors and the story was okay. But then they brought out Open Season 2, didn't bring back the actors and didn't put the money into the animation, and that film was pretty bad. And then Open Season 3 was even worse. And that's always my fear with a new company entering the realm of big budget animation, that if they don't get the animation right, the whole thing's going to be a flop right off the start. But thankfully that's not the case here. The animation is pretty solid. It's not on Disney's level, it's not on Pixar's level, it's not even on DreamWorks level, but it's just a tiny step below. Although with modern day technology, there's no excuse for poor animation anymore. And of course, the big takeaway is that this film is marketed at children and families. It's not supposed to be reviewed or taken as seriously as something like an Academy Award nominated film. This is never going to be one of those. The movie is supposed to be a bit of fun, something families can sit around with all together and enjoy. You have no fear of blood splattering on the walls or children having nightmares for years. This is just a bit of fun. But is it fun? That's the question. And I gotta say, I was really looking forward to this movie. As I previously mentioned, I didn't know it was a sequel until just before I watched it, but even still, I went in with my love of animation, hoping to see a great movie. And unfortunately, 30 minutes into the film, I picked up my phone to see how long had gone by. It was only 30 minutes. And the film had dragged and it was really boring. And that's a shame, because I'm thinking to myself, if I'm bored at this stage, I can only imagine what children would be like at this stage. Because I know when I was young, if a movie didn't keep my attention that long, I was moving on to the next thing. And back then we didn't have a phone to pick up with YouTube or a tablet with a new game on it or a game console waiting in the corner with the next game you wanted to play. Kids' attention spans are even shorter nowadays, and I don't think this movie does enough in the opening stages to keep the kids' attention. While it's got some decent visuals and big colors, the opening to the movie is very boring, and a lot of it is just setting up for the movie and also explaining what happened in the previous movie. There's not a whole lot going on there. But soon after then is when Bigfoot goes missing. Now this film is only an hour and a half long, and Bigfoot goes missing around the half an hour to 40-minute mark, which leaves less than an hour for them to wrap up the rest of the story. For them to go find Bigfoot, save Bigfoot, and save the day. And of course you need a bad guy in these type of movies, and the bad guy in this one is a traditional old oil baron who's pretending to be a hippie, earth-loving, save the world type of person, but actually he's just an oil baron, and his whole family have been oil barons. It's very stereotypical. Normally on movie reviews I'll talk about stuff like the writing and the lines in the movie, but I don't think that's too important in an animated movie. I think the most important thing in an animated movie, aside from the animation being good, is does this movie keep your attention? Is it fun? And I would argue no. While this movie has minor elements, it's definitely trying too hard, and a lot of the stuff is stuff we've seen in other animated films. There's better animated films than this movie, and there's a lot of them out there. Now in saying that, I know that some children, and when I was a kid in particular, when you find a movie you like, you stick to your guns and you watch that movie 100 times. But I don't really think this movie's gonna be one of those. It doesn't have a song that kids are gonna be singing for years like Frozen did. It doesn't have a character like Olaf like Frozen did. I basically just compared this to Frozen. It doesn't have memorable characters like Toy Story. It's very generic on the face of it, and that's the big shame. The story isn't good in this movie. It's very generic, it's been seen before, it's been done better before, and it's very much the type of story you'd see in a Saturday morning cartoon. The movie doesn't particularly have anything unique about it other than Bigfoot being the main character, and even then they humanize Bigfoot as much as possible. He's basically just a hairy human with good hearing. Pretty much. So as I mentioned previously, various times throughout this movie I found myself picking up my phone to see how long was left, because I was kind of just waiting for it to end, and that's a huge shame. For me personally, this movie is... the rating on this one's tough. So for me, Bigfoot Family is a 4 out of 10. And you know, I consider giving it a 5, but I think 4 is about right. The animation's decent, not amazing. The story's bad, it's kind of boring. The characters aren't great. There's not really much character development in there at all. And even Bigfoot is kind of wasted in this movie. Now, you might be thinking, yeah, well Carl, you're a grown-ass man. You know, you're a big, strong guy. This movie's not made for you. Trust me, I'm a big kid. I watched The Muppets yesterday when I was eating my breakfast. I'm not gonna lie. That's what I did yesterday. So, I'm a big kid. I love animated movies. And I'm always gonna love animated movies. And animated movies with good stories, with good animation, I always love them. And I'll always scream from the mountaintop that they should win all the awards. Recently, I've been saying that Soul, Disney Pixar film, should win the Best Academy Award, Best Film Award thing. And I stand by that. Soul should win the Best Film Academy Award. But unfortunately, Bigfoot Family for me is a flop. But maybe you think I'm wrong, and if you do, head down to that comment section, tell me exactly why, and let's talk it out. And of course, this film comes out on Friday on Netflix. If you love animation, certainly check it out. Maybe your opinion will differ to mine. If it does, I certainly want to hear all about it. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Another video in the bag. Hopefully there was no spoilers in there, and hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button just so I know what you're watching. And of course, like always, if you're new to movie film, please hit that subscribe button for new content every Wednesday and Friday. Check out some of the other content on our channel. There should be a video right over here somewhere for you to check out. I'd highly recommend checking out some of the other content on our channel. But with all that said and done, thank you so much for watching.